When this documentary was made in 1963 by KMTV in Omaha, Nebraska, very few people realized that the reporter on it would someday be the highest paid newsman on television.
Good evening. It is hard to say where and when the United Nations had its beginning. In a real sense, the origins of any world body lie far back in history.
That, of course, is Mr. Tom Brokaw. And next Monday, Paul, he becomes the anchorman of the NBC Nightly News. Please welcome, with a different haircut, I hope, Tom Brokaw. You have what appears to be a shepherd's crook.
What it is actually a symbol of the honored prophet from the Omaha Press Club, presented to me March 19th, 1982. It's the first time I'd ever gotten the hook right after the speech.
Well, congratulations. That's a high honor, I'm sure.
That film that you showed just moments ago, all prints had been burned and purchased with this new high salary that you're about to ask me about.
Yeah,
I thought.
I was...
I'm prepared to negotiate for the rights to that. There it is again, there.
You,
I was never that young or that serious.
You don't, you know, it's not as stupid looking as it could have been. And
I
don't mean that, but...
I think it's real close, though.
No, you were a good looking, you were a guy that would have been in the AV club in high school, and that's what that looks like, you know. One of the, but that's not mine.
Secretary.
I look like a complete duck. You look pretty good there. All right, let's talk about, I'm very excited about, I've been a big fan of yours on the Today Show and before that when you were, I guess, a Washington correspondent, and I thought you were tremendous in Detroit a couple of years ago at the Democratic Convention. And I'm very excited about your new position, and let's talk about the dough since you brought it up. Big money here.
I brought it up because I read it right here. It's right here. One of the things you
the
a lot of money.
highest paid newscaster in history.
Well, that's what somebody said. I'm not sure that's true.
Well, who would be even close?
Well, there are a lot of folks making big money in this business these days.
It would be you, Gabe Pressman, and that's it.
As far as it goes, so far as I can tell. I'll bet Paul Harvey makes more than all of us.
Paul Harvey might, yeah. You're originally from South Dakota.
I am.
Now, those are, how does that make you feel, having all that money?
Go ahead and complete that thought. What kind of roots are those?
Well, I think they're similar to mine.
Yeah.
I came from the heart of Indiana, and well, how does that make you feel?
It's plain folks country. Well, I think it helps, actually, because I think that you grow up not measuring your life by money. And I think that there are other values that are out there that have become very important to you. And I think that if you have those values kind of firmly fixed in your life, your compass point's pretty well set, I think that the money can come along and not change those values, not corrupt you, if you will. And I think that's going to be helpful to me.
Is there, I assume it's a multi-year contract, is there any kind of security there for you, or is it? Yeah,
there is all that. Well, look, let me just say one thing about the money. When I went from making $5,000 a year in Omaha to making $10,000 a year in Atlanta, I thought I'd struck it rich.
Yeah.
I mean, given the fact where I came from in South Dakota and so on, where people don't make a lot of money, some of them do, obviously, but where money, again, is not the way that you measure your excellence. So after that, I was just grateful for whatever came along. I've always liked the work. I am paid a lot of money. A lot of us are these days. But after all, well, maybe this one is. I'm not sure. These networks are not pension funds for widows and orphans, but maybe NBC is. I'm not sure about it. But the fact is that a lot of money is generated from the newscasts that we do and that kind of thing. And what you just hope that you can keep your eye fixed on those qualities that brought you into this profession in the first place and not let all that dough get in the way of it. You can only wear one suit at a time, I think, eat one meal at a time. I still don't hire yachts and go to the Caribbean. I go backpacking instead and do those kinds of things that have always interested me.
Speaking of going places, you just got back from a really strange, well, maybe not strange, but a really interesting situation in El Salvador.
Right.
What was that like?
It's a little 5-day package tour. I won with the NBC Credit Club. They had a drawing. Said you get to go to El Salvador for 5 days. Quite seriously, it is a tiny country, but it is important not just for the people who live there, but for all of us in terms of what's happening in Central America. It's about as complicated a political situation as I have ever encountered, and I think all the reporters who have been there feel that more strongly every day. There is a pervasive fear and a kind of pervasive terror about El Salvador that's almost indescribable. People disappear from the streets. They're snatched from the streets by right-wing death squads, by security forces. The guerrillas are at work a lot. In the few days that I was there, I don't know, untold numbers of people were killed. It was routine to wake up with automatic weapons fired not too far from the hotel. The first night that I was there was a pretty severe firefight all night long, four blocks down the street from my room, and I thought that it sounded close, and my cameraman who was in the next room, he said, well, or in the next building actually, he said it sounded close because there was a guy with an M16 on the floor above you firing down the street at the same time.
Now, is it to somebody going in there, if I were to go there tomorrow, would it be readily apparent to me who were the good guys and who were the bad guys?
It's not readily apparent to me who are the good guys and the bad guys. Not that I'm more discerning than you are, but it's very hard to sort it out. The political situation from a structured point of view, most of the parties are kind of what we would think of as being right of center, more conservative. Then there are the moderates. Then there in the hills, there's not just one band of rebels, although they operate under one umbrella now. There are 5 or 6 different factions with different heroes. Kim Il-sung, the president of North Korea, is the hero to one. Others are inclined toward Castro. Others are kind of Maoist. Others are just pure Marxist-Leninist. So it's a very complicated situation.
And again, briefly, maybe it can't be done briefly, but the election, what did the results
I'll tell you what the
of that
election,
mean?
I think that we probably didn't do as good a job as we should have done about explaining what was going on. What they were electing was not a president. They were electing a Congress, if you will, a constituent assembly, they called it. 60 people who would come together. They would name an interim president and fix a date for an election down the road a ways. Well, what was important was that the parties, or the party that had the control of that constituent assembly, would effectively control El Salvador. But it's still a while before they have still another election. I mean, one of the lesser-known candidates can be the interim president, and then they have an election a year from now, and the people of El Salvador can elect still somebody else a president. So we're going to be there a while.
And of course, last night on the news, there was an NBC video crew that was actually fired upon.
I was coming out of El Salvador at the time that happened. They were on the phone when I thought that was a good time to leave. Well, they're firing at us now. I think I'll go home, I said to my brave camera crew.
Well, was there ever an explanation for this? I know
No,
a couple of weeks ago that was the people from the Netherlands were killed.
Yes, there were. There was no official explanation. We immediately protested the Army. There is a good deal of resentment on the part of many military men and also the far more conservative political figures of the press, because they don't think that we're doing a fair or responsible job of reporting what's going on. They think, in effect, that we're too sympathetic to the rebel forces. And it's a very emotional climate down there.
It's not a good place to be if you're going to live there, but I mean it's even tenuous if you're dangerous.
If you're just in there temporarily, and there's a lot of anxiety built up in the reporters who have to spend a month, 6 weeks in there, and they confess that. They just say, look, it's not fun to be here.
So you're back now, and you won't be traveling much, I guess, because you begin Monday.
I'm going to become a gentleman journalist next week, yes.
Are you going to miss that? Are you going to miss being in Washington, being in El Salvador, here and there?
I will miss that, because I do get a kind of a twitch if I don't buckle up after about 2 days, get on the airplane and go. But at the same time, I've looked forward to this kind of an assignment for a long time, and the time will come, we hope in the not-too-distant future, when Roger and I will each be able to get away on selected stories to do them. That's the attraction of having a two-man anchor.
Yeah, we talked lightly about the money that you're going to be paid for this in the beginning, but people may not understand the kind of pressure that you're walking into here. Maybe it's not a great deal of pressure, but every minute that you're on the air now is going to be closely monitored. Is that bothering you?
Well, yes, I keep saying to people, well, don't try to measure the success of this program by the ratings of the first week. There is this kind of fascination that we help feed with the ratings.
Sure.
I understand our role in all of that. It is not necessarily a measure of excellence, however. What we're going to try to do is a very good news program first, and we hope that that will attract the ratings. We expect that that will be the case. Yeah, I'll know better next week. I think what Dan Rather underwent in the last year, for example, probably took the heat off the rest of us a lot. I think that was a very difficult situation that he stepped into.
Yeah, that's amazing. As far as I'm concerned, your money in the bank, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for being here. This gentleman, of course, Mr. Tom Brokaw, the new anchorman for NBC News. We'll be right back with Andy Aaron.